and persons are enjoying themselves as we rightly should. It's our culture, it is our tradition, and I wish everybody would do so safely. Some communities have already hosted their carnival events, and the aftermath of some of these community carnival activities is not so pretty. And we are hoping that Sufre will be different and lead the change that is required. We are hoping that through this project, we will be able to place some barrels, some beautifully painted barrels around the town for persons to dispose of their garbage during the carnival season, during the 2 days from Juve until the end of Carnival on the 27th of July, so that the aftermath that we are seeing in the communities that have hosted Carnival will not be replicated. I drove through Vieux and I would say I was pleased to see that Vieux was relatively not so littered during the parade, but after the parade, you could see quite a bit of garbage where persons had been standing watching what was happening. But the revelers on the road, I think the the amount of garbage that I saw was not that much for the time that I didn't go through before Carnival yesterday. So let us begin. I know last week I promised to present to you the results of the water quality. Unfortunately, my guest is unable to be with us today, so we are going to postpone the results of the water quality presentation to the last Tuesday in July. And I am hoping that I would have Mr. Charmaine here with me then. Either the last Tuesday or in July or the first Tuesday in August. I want to then review or redo and highlight some of what it is that we did last week because the live stream unfortunately was not quite live. So some persons have asked that I represent the CAP survey results, and I want to go through that very, very briefly. But I want to focus on our carnival bands that we do have for the PMA and the Waterways Kiddies Carnival Band for Super Carnival 2026 and why we took on this initiative. So let me first share my screen. Those of you who are joining us on online on both Facebook and on YouTube, you will be able to see what it is that I am describing. Those of you who are listening, I will do my utmost best to describe the I will do my utmost to describe, thank you, DJ Elon, what it is that I am presenting on screen. Um, Let me just change the banner to the bottom so that you could see a lot more. So we conducted what is known as a knowledge, attitudes, and perception survey. Basically, we trained 6 Soufrians to go around Soufre from Bouton all the way to Etang's Fonjolib area through Fonsejac, asking residents questions on how they view different aspects of our Soufre environment. And the results are very, very interesting, and I will be briefly running through some of it right now. So, like I mentioned, we did from Bouton and we covered the entire Soufre area. For the demographics, which are persons' characteristics, we looked at the age ranges and we got a nice curve with the persons in the 40 to 49 age range being um, the most number of respondents, and then we have a good taper of results. So for gender, we had about 41% male and 59% female, which is about what our Saint population is. We are about a 1-to-1 population in Saint male to female, about half, 50-50. So 41-59 is acceptable for our results. Men tend to want to answer questions a little bit less than women, I believe. So even in doing surveys, we try to ensure that our enumerators ask an equal number of men and women, but most times, a lot of the times, or not most times, sometimes the men decline and they ask their wives or their partners to respond on their behalf. So the ratio that we have of 49 to 15, 41 to 59 is about 50-50. So it's fine. For the perception of residents on natural resources, so we ask persons how do they view the importance of natural resources in St. Lucia, of natural resources to St. Lucia. So how important, for instance, is water to St. Lucia, or how important is the river to St. Lucia? And predominantly, most persons viewed all the resources as being very important. We did find that persons placed the least amount of importance on waterfalls, and they viewed water as being the most important, followed by forests, and then soil and land, and the beaches and the sea. So, with water being at the forefront of everybody's concern these days, with water rationing, and not just in Soufriere, not all, quite a few communities in St. Lucia, persons are seeing how important water is, something that we were taking for granted before. I think with what is happening in Soufriere right now, persons are seeing how important water is. And we need to think of, where does our water come from? And that was one of the questions we asked, do you know where your catchment is? And that is something that persons would never even think about before. And we asked that question in the survey, and you'll see what the results are. The next question we asked was, how do Soufriere residents view natural resources to themselves? So how important is water to the person who was answering the question, to the respondent? How important is the river to that person? So this one was personal perception. And in this case, water again came out on top as being the most important, followed by forest, which was the same, sorry, followed by soil and land, and then forest. So the soil and the forest sort of switched from the previous, when we look at the importance to the country and then to themselves. I think Soufriere persons placed a lot more importance on the soil and land, because we did have quite a few persons who were involved in farming who responded to the questionnaire. And we know that we have a growing number of persons who are undertaking backyard gardening for self-sufficiency in Soufriere. Then we went specifically to water. We were asking persons what was their main source of water that they used to drink at home. And the vast majority, almost 60% of persons responded that it's Wasco, water from Wasco, that is piped into their homes. We do have about 34% of residents who say that their primary source of drinking water is actually bottled water. We have a few persons responded that it is water from Wasco at a standpipe, and we know we still have some of these standpipes available for persons to utilize in a couple communities in Soufriere. Then we did have about 3 individuals who indicated that their main source of drinking water is rainwater. And same number of individuals said that their main source of drinking water is spring water from a spring that they tap to their homes. Then we asked everybody, do you know where your local catchment is? So the water that you get from Wasco, where does it come from? That's what a catchment is. The area of land that feeds the underground water table, the underground, what we call an aquifer. Where is the aquifer that Wasco taps to take water to you? Where does Wasco get the water that they treat and they pipe to your homes? Where is it? And interestingly, just about 50% of residents could say where their water was coming from. They said yes, that they knew, but then we had almost 50%, 47% of residents said that they had no clue. So between 52 and 40, almost 48, said they had no clue, and a couple did not answer. So that means it's almost 50-50, right? So almost half of Sufere does not know where their water is coming from. And that's concerning because if you don't know where your water is coming from, you would not be able to advocate and to insist and ensure that your water catchment is protected. Because if the water catchment is deforested, if it has no trees, if it is some activities happening there that can negatively impact the underground water source, you know we're in problems, right? Because the only treatment Wasco does right now is to add chlorine. If the trees are cut in the area where the aquifer is being recharged, that means that the tree dies, the roots die. So the channels that were being formed by the roots to take water and for the water to seep down through those channels to get to the underground aquifer is going to kick up, is going to bind up, and you're not going to get those channels anymore. That is why trees are important in the water cycle. The roots provide a channel to allow the water to seep deep underground and to build up and be stored in these underground aquifers. So we then asked residents, do you think your pipe-borne water is safe for drinking? The vast majority said yes. When I say vast majority, it was about 45%. 35% said no, and 15% said they did not know. Well, that's 16% said they did not know. So about 40, let's say 47, 48% said yes, 36 to 37% said no, and 16% said they did not know. So if you add up those who say no and those who say they did not know, the majority actually do not think that the pipe-borne water is safe. And when we ask what concerns do they have, the majority, more than 50%, said too much chlorine. Some said the water is sometimes brown and dirty. Some indicated that the water has an off taste. And only 20% said that they had no concern. Other responses, some persons indicated that they get diarrhea if they drink the tap water, that the water supply is not consistent. So their concern was about the consistency in the supply, that they don't have water every single day. And I think this is one of the big concerns that persons have right now with our water rationing happening in Sufere, is that we don't get water every single day from Wasco. And let me inform you, Suferians, that we had a presentation by Wasco, and they indicated that for them to bring the diamond catchments back online, to reopen them, they're planning on building a Class A treatment facility, and that is going to take between 12 to 16 months. That means we are going to be faced with this water rationing until the end of 2027. Maybe it would go into 2028 if it has to be extended. So this water rationing is going to continue for the next year because Wasco has to put in a treatment facility for the diamond catchment to make the water safe for consumption again. When we asked the persons who answered that they use spring water, do they use... So first of all, we asked how many persons use spring water for cooking and drinking. And when we say spring water, we do not mean bottled spring water like from Forest Springs or from Paradise bottled water or Piton bottled water. We were asking about tapping a spring from the land and using that spring water. We had about 12 respondents who indicated that yes, they do use spring water for cooking and drinking. So for those 12 respondents, then we asked them further questions. Do you treat the water before drinking? And the majority of them said no, they do not treat the spring water before drinking. A few said rarely, a few said sometimes, and just a handful said that they always, 10% said that they always treat their water before cooking or drinking. That's the spring water. Then we asked those who said that they treat the water, so those who say always, sometimes, or rarely, how do they treat the water? Boiling by filtering the water and using purification tablets. Then we asked persons, do you use the Sufa River at all for anything? The majority, and we asked about 350 persons answered that survey. The majority of the respondents do not use the Sufa River. Less than 10% said yes, that they do use the Sufa River. So about 30 people indicated that they use the Sufa River. And then when we asked, what do they use the river for? The majority, almost 60%, said that they use the river for river limes, that they go and cool out by the river. Some say that they bathe in the Sufa River. Some say they wash their vehicles using water from the Sufa River. Some indicated that they wash clothes and dishes from river water. A very small percentage of persons indicated that they fish in the Sufa River. But we got some other uses. For watering plants, they take tourists on tours to the Sufa River, dispose of branches. One person indicated that they drink water from the river, which had me questioning where exactly this person lives and which water source it is that they're using. Some say that they throw into the river cuttings from grass and trees. And when we wanted to find out which areas of the river were being used, the majority said Fonce Jacques. So we had Tourai, Wavin Clay, Edmond Forest, Fonce Jacques. And we had quite a few persons, actually 10 people, who said that they use the river in the Crestland area. And in the Crescent area, they take the tourists there on tour, use the water to pipe it into their homes for washing, and they use the water there for washing vehicles. Then we asked persons who do not use the river, why do they not use the Sufa River? The majority indicated that they don't and they will not use the river because of the amount of garbage that's in the river and the high levels of bacteria that's found in the river, as well as the dirty color of the water. And we had about 10% of persons who were unsure or thought that the river, or think that the river could still have bilharzia. So they don't use the river because of the idea that the river has bilharzia. Now, that is a question that the Ministry of Health has to answer for us. We do know that there's been no new cases of bilharzia in St. Lucia for a number of years, decades. However, there's been no study to actually go into the river, collect some snail samples, and test them to see if they would find any bilharzia in those snails, because the snails act as hosts for the bilharzia worm. So for us, the bilharzia pathogen, we cannot definitively say that the river is free of bilharzia until such a survey, such an experiment is being done. So we know that in the past, in the 60s and the 70s, we did have bilharzia in our river, but nothing has been done to definitively say there's no more bilharzia, that the river would be safe to walk through it because you wouldn't contract that illness. Some also indicated that they think that the water has chemicals. The river water, persons are throwing chemicals in there. For trash disposal, one of the components of the project is looking at the waste streams into the river, and we wanted to see whether persons are aware of garbage disposal. How do they dispose of their garbage in and around their communities? So we asked persons what day is the bulk waste garbage collection. And surprisingly, the majority, exactly 60% of those respondents, did not know what the bulk waste is being collected. And bulk waste is being collected in Soufrière every second Wednesday. And in Bouton is collected on the last Saturday of every month. So we had the correct options in the survey, but we wanted to know if persons could identify what day it was happening. So for the majority of Soufrière, it's the second Wednesday of every month. And for Bouton, it's the last Saturday of every month. Keep that in mind. When you have your bulk waste, contact solid waste to let them know where you will be placing these items so that SADO's workers would know where to go to collect those bulky items. Then we asked how do persons dispose of their garbage. The majority, thankfully, almost 100% say that we dispose of our garbage by putting it out on the days when garbage is collected in our areas. A few indicated that they do compost organic waste around their homes. Some indicated that they still burn any leaves and plant material that they have around their homes. But we did have one honest person who indicated that he dumps garbage in the river, in the ravine, which is a very, very bad practice and should not be continued. Apologies, I thought I had my phone on silent, and let me do that right now. I actually left the phone on for me to get and receive messages, but I forgot to put it on silent. Okay. Our next question was looking at persons' practices around their homes, what happens, what activities take place in their community. Dumping of household waste, and person said yes. Dumping of feces, person said yes. Washing of waste from animal pens. We had about 11% of persons who said that that practice still happens, where persons have the animal pens, whether it be close to the river or directly next to the river, and in some instances in the drains, where you have animal waste and animals in the river, and the feces and the excreta is being dumped directly into the river. And persons who live downstream most times are unaware of that activity happening upstream of them. We do have persons indicating that dead animals are occasionally dumped into the Sufe River. Construction waste, which should not happen. If you are building, ensure that your contractor dumps your construction waste at the landfill. And if you're paying them, ask them to bring back a receipt from solid waste to indicate, from the landfill to indicate that they did dump the construction waste. Because I know a few persons have gotten into trouble with solid waste in the instance where their waste was tracked back to them, and when solid waste questioned, they indicated that they paid somebody to take their waste to a landfill, and the truck driver took the money, took the garbage, and dumped it over a cliff somewhere and did not go to the landfill. So we do have some dishonest truck drivers, and I want to appeal to them to desist, to stop that bad practice. If you're being paid to do a job, to take something to the landfill, take it to the landfill. We have the majority of the communities in Sufer, especially on the outskirts, indicated that littering is not a problem in the community. So the communities of Margaret Hood, Fond-Jalib, Sulphur Springs, Bouton, those in Font-Saint-Jacques indicated that littering is not a problem in their areas, but those in the town area overwhelmingly said that there is a problem with littering in their communities. So persons who live directly in town, we need to do better. We asked about green waste disposal. How do you dispose of green waste? And green waste is simply, if you do gardening, you cut branches, you prune trees, you cut the grass, you change up, do some weeding in your gardens. That's green waste. And we asked persons, how do they dispose of green waste at their homes? Some said that they had no green waste to dispose of. It didn't apply to them, the majority. But some say that at least once a month they dispose of the green waste by primarily composting. Some burn the green plant matter, others put it out for garbage, for regular garbage collection. And we do have a couple who were honest and said they did dump their green waste, their trees and grass clippings into the river or the ravine, which should not happen, because when you have a pileup of branches and logs during heavy rainfall, they clump together and create a dam, and that can cause flooding. So we want persons to stop the practice of dumping green waste in the Sufer River. We also asked about toilet facilities. How do they perceive water from their homes, their wastewater that goes down the drain into the gutters and the river. So first we asked, what toilet facility does your household have? And the majority of Sufre has flushlets, and that is the same thing, similar to what is found in the census, actually. So that we need to focus on those communities where persons indicated that they do not have toilet facilities at home and they rely on community toilet facilities, or they have no option whatsoever. So a few persons indicated that they use the community facility, or they have no toilet facility, and one person indicated that they still use a VIP, which is a pit latrine, which is perfectly fine. Then we asked persons, do you think that wastewater from your homes, meaning the water that goes down your drain into the gutter, so water from your kitchen sink, your bathroom shower, your bathroom sink, your outside bath, your outside sinks, what happens to that water? Do you think that water should be treated before it gets into the river and the drain and the gut and the river and the sea? Overwhelmingly, almost 75% of respondents indicated yes, that they do think that the water should be treated before it is released into the river. And I want to say, I do agree with that sentiment. This is a call clearly coming out from persons that they think we need to have some sort of sewer treatment facility in Sufre. And I know a number of years ago that had been a discussion point with the town council when Mr. Bob was a mayor at the time, Donald Bob. And persons were indicating that they were keen on Sufre developing or installing a sewer system to treat gray water. Water that comes from your kitchen sink is considered gray water before it is released into the river and the streams. Because think of all what goes down your drain, from your dishwashing soap to the oils and the bits of food, as well as any chemicals from showering, your shampoo, conditioner, and all the shaving cream. And what do the men use when they have all the aftershave, the Listerine, when you mop and you clean your homes, all the disinfectants, the bleach, all those chemicals that we are unaware, or we do not think of the implications, all of that enters the river. That's what the fish and the crayfish and all these aquatic animals and plants, the birds, have to live in, that we humans are dumping down our drains and allowing it to flow into our rivers and to the sea. And when that flows into the sea, that's what we are going to be bathing in ourselves. So not just the fish swimming in it, but when it gets into the sea, anywhere you have a river close to a bathing area, that's what you're actually swimming in. So we need to be thinking consciously about those activities that we are doing. So clearly, persons are saying, yes, we need to treat our gray water before it goes into the drains and flows into the rivers and the sea. Then we ask persons, do you think wastewater from animal pens, animal farms, should be treated before it is released? And of course, the vast majority said yes. So I think this is the end of our slide presentation. How do I bring myself back on stage? I'm not even sure how to bring myself back on stage. So let me ask for some assistance from our technicians here. We have no technicians there. I hope everybody can still see me. I can see that I am on stage, and I can see that it's my mic is still functioning, but might not be able to see me. There, I brought myself back. All right, so I want to say, so far, the work that we have been doing has been having a positive impact on our communities. Persons have been pleased with the community cleanups that has had the greatest impact, for one. And we have the community micro grants, which will be launched in August. So we are planning currently a big symposium in August, on the 20th of August, that will be for funding agencies to come to Sufre. We will present to them our challenges, what we have found. We will present to them the solutions, and we are speaking as it pertains to now our potable water, to the challenges that Wasco has, but as well as the challenges with regards to our sewage disposal in our community. So there are some communities in Sufra where we know persons do not have access to toilet facilities, and we are not just finding out the problems. We have done work in the past where solutions have been proposed, have been recommended. We are now going the next step of bringing the funding agencies to the community to present the possible solutions to them and to pitch it to them for for us to see if we could get a funding agency that would be willing to fund one or two of these solutions for those communities. So through the Flowing Clean project, we will not be able to directly build or construct any sewage treatment facility for Palmis or for the Barons Drive or the town extension Wingsville area. But we will be bringing the funding agencies to a symposium next month to present the solutions to them for us to find a funder to adopt one or two of these projects, and we will see that happen. So we are trying to reduce the instances of raw sewage flowing into the river, and we know what a health implications that would have for us. We understand that the water quality will not improve until those issues are addressed, and through this project, we are taking that next very important step. So we have this major symposium coming up next month so that by hopefully 2027, we can have a project on the ground in Soufrière looking at addressing that problem for those residents so that we can improve the water quality in the Soufrière River to a point where we have little to no sewage flowing into the river whatsoever. I want to commend all those persons who have been giving us their support in getting the symposium up and running. We've been working with some international agencies to bring those agencies on board, and the foundation, the Soufrière Foundation, I want to say thank you to Mr. Auger, is taking the lead in getting that symposium to happen for the community. As you might know, the foundation is one of the co-partners and co-funders in implementing this Flowing Clean project. I want to end today by promoting our junior carnival band, the PMA and the Flowing Clean project have partnered together, and we have a kiddies carnival band that will be portraying the Guardians of Soufrière. So the PMA is portraying the pitons and the petroglyphs. So the pitons we know are our World Heritage Site, and within that World Heritage Site, we have some petroglyphs that are carvings that our original inhabitants of St. Lucia, the Amerindians, carved into rock formations around Soufrière. Some are found at Stonefield between the Pitons and Jalousie, some up in the Belfont area, some on private property that persons are not even aware of. So we want to promote, well, the PMA is promoting those two components, and we view the petroglyphs, those carvings, as what these Amerindians left, so the voices of our ancestors, and we view the Pitons as the guardians of the land. They stand tall and majestic, overlooking our entire community. Waterways, through Flowing Clean, we are portraying for this year, 2026 Kiddies Carnival, Guardians of the River and Water Warriors. So Water Warriors, we have community representatives who are collecting water quality data for us and helping us in monitor what is happening along the Soufrière River. So if they see anything, they can contact us, and then we can pass that information on to the relevant authorities immediately. And for the Guardians of the River, we are looking at the water and the plant life and the animals that live in the river or that depend on the river. We have quite a few birds that if you walk along the river, you can see them fishing in the river, from the green heron, the blue heron, the egrets, the black crown-eyed heron, sandpipers. We have quite a few bird species that live and feed on fish and snails, etc., crayfish that live in the Sufa River. So we are promoting our Flowing Green project through Carnival. It's a form of educational entertainment, so edutainment. So we are using this band to bring out the message of protecting and keeping the river clean. So to become a water warrior, become a guardian of the river. And our carnival band, we are still accepting registration until next week is a deadline. We are getting our costumes made. In fact, we are starting up on setting up our mass camp tomorrow, as well as for this band, we are getting the children involved in the art of producing their costume or part of the costume. So for the headpieces or the back piece or the armbands, the neck piece, we want the children to be involved in making part of their costume. We have lost that craft. I remember as a child going to Sufra Girls Infant School and Sufra Girls Primary School way back in the 80s. The school used to have a carnival band, and we would stay back after school and we were given a template. We had to make our own headpieces. So we would have to glue and put glitter and put on sequins, and we had assistance from our teachers, but we were involved in making part of our costume the same way. So the seamstresses would sew, the clothing, but for the armbands, the headpieces, or whatever the back piece, whatever the costume entailed, the children, we were involved. So we want to bring that back, that aspect of mass camp and making your costume back. We know we have quite a few of our bands now. They import everything ready-made, and we are losing that skill, that tradition of costume making. So we're bringing that back with our band. So if you're interested, our costumes, the package only costs $150. Only $150. The amount of money that we have spent so far exceeds $150. The total package of what the children are going to receive exceeds $500. So paying 150, they're going to be getting quite a lot from the package. They will have the costume, obviously, but they will be getting a water bottle, they will be getting sunglasses, they will be getting whistles, some little toys, some little trinkets. On the day of course, lunch will be provided. They'll have the juice and water and sandwiches and refreshments and the music. And after carnival, we will be having an after party to have the children enjoy themselves one last time. So again, for the PMA and the Flowing Clean Junior Carnival Band, this year, registration $150. The costumes are absolutely beautiful in all four sections, both male and female. I encourage you to register your children, have them join. Don't come to us last minute because the costumes have to be made. So don't come to us last minute expecting to pay and for the children to have a costume already made. We are making our costumes this year. So please, if you are planning on having your child join our carnival band, register with the PMA or with Tamansia down on the waterfront, or Yota up at the radio station, or Jan. But Jan is going on vacation soon, so Yota preferably, or myself. If you see me, you can register with me as well right away too. We have our online form, and I'm going to be posting the link on our Facebook page once we are done. Once again, if you go to our Facebook page, you will see all of that information that is being posted on there. Now it is 11:18, coming up on 11:20. I started a little bit late setting up, And I am going to end right now and hand over to DJ Ilan. Thank you once again, all those who tuned in. And we are going to be presenting the water quality results either the last Tuesday of July or the first Tuesday of August. So come on back and join us next week. I will be on air. It's Carnival Tuesdays, but I will still be on air next week, Tuesday. And we will be working assiduously to get our mass camp ready and get our revelers, our kiddies excited for 2026 Soufrière Carnival.
Responsibility, protect the environment. A healthy river is healthy you. And Mother Nature calling out to you.